The mission is simple: to help high achievers naturally eliminate emotional and physical obstacles so they can optimize their life for higher achievement. Welcome. You have just entered the Genesis Zone. Good day, and welcome to the Genesis Zone show. This is Dr. Brian Brown. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. We are talking about brain fog today, and we'll be talking about more what that looks like here in just a minute. But if you've ever struggled with brain fog, you know exactly what that is. And so I'll ask you the question, do you have brain fog? You know, a lot of people have it, and many health professionals don't even know what to do with it. But did you know that the brain fog that you're struggling with could be a sign that things are breaking down in your body? That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to explore that in great detail, and then we're going to talk about some solutions and what you can do to overcome this. Most people deny that they have brain fog. I'm not sure why. I think it's a pride issue. No, my mind works fine. I find in a lot of cases, people have a family history of Alzheimer's or something like that. They don't want to admit that they're having brain fog type issues. And, or on the flip side of that, they're totally unaware that they have it in the first place. But you ask other people around them, and they can definitely tell you this person has brain fog, foggy thinking. It's kind of like the whole how do you boil a frog type scenario. Well, you do it slowly. If you gradually increase the temperature, you don't even realize that it's going on. And I think with our physical bodies and our emotional bodies, I think we're very much that way. I think things happen to us so gradually over time. By the time we realize that we're actually at boiling temperatures, we don't even know what to do, and we can't really get out of it. It's kind of too late at that point. So what is brain fog? Well, brain fog is this broad umbrella that covers things like melancholy mood. Notice I didn't say depression, but you can have a melancholy mood where you just feel kind of blah, maybe a little blue, but nothing that meets the criteria for a full-blown major depressive disorder or anything like that. Maybe you're struggling with a little worry. Your brain just kind of churns a little bit all the time. Maybe it's low key. It's not something that's all the time. It's not something that's really severe, but you just kind of have that churning brain that you can't quite seem to settle down internally. And then sometimes people will complain, you know, I feel literally like I'm walking in a fog, like my head is in the clouds. I can't see straight. I can't think straight. I can't even complete a meaningful task that I'm supposed to be getting done every day, and I just kind of shut down. And then there's forgetfulness and short-term memory issues and things like that. Some people have long-term memory issues. But brain fog is just kind of this all-encompassing umbrella that kind of just says, hey, I've got something that's pretty ambiguous going on in my head, and I can't quite explain what it is. That's after 25 years of clinical experience, that's the best way I know to explain it. Is brain fog listed in any psychiatric or primary care textbook or any endocrinologist textbook or neurology textbook? The answer is no. In fact, when you talk to most health professionals and you mention brain fog, especially if you're a patient and you're in the office and you mention brain fog, it goes right over most health professionals' head. It's one of those things they filter out and they don't even pay attention to it in most cases, not in all cases, but in most cases. So what causes brain fog? Well, there are a lot of things that can cause brain fog. It could be an energy issue. It could be that you're energy depleted. You're burning the candle at both ends and in the middle. So your body's constantly under stress. So you're moving towards adrenal fatigue and those types of things. It could be that you do have fatigue or chronic fatigue, and that's causing your brain fog. It could be that you do have a mental health disorder like depression or anxiety, and that's causing brain fog. But it could be a chemical imbalance or hormonal imbalance, but it can also be an electrical or energetic imbalance in the body. And we'll talk more about what that looks like here in just a second. So there are multiple causes for brain fog. That's the big takeaway from the answer to this question of what causes brain fog. There are a lot of things that can potentially cause brain fog. Our job as functional type practitioners, health providers, we have to figure out, okay, what is causing this brain fog? We have to get to the bottom of it fairly quickly. because as I'll explain in a minute, brain fog is sometimes this overarching theme that there are other bigger problems going on all throughout the body. So we definitely want to get a handle on that as quickly as we possibly can. So is brain fog strictly a sign or symptom of depression and anxiety or mental health disorder in general? And the answer is no. I hope you already got that from what I've said so far, but that's a common question I get. Does this mean I'm depressed or I have a depressive disorder or an anxiety disorder? And the answer is no, not until proven otherwise. And because we've got to look at all of the possible scenarios of why this brain fog is occurring. So the next question I hear a lot of times, why doesn't my primary care provider know what this brain fog is? Why doesn't my OBGYN or my endocrinologist or my neurologist or whoever, you insert in the blank there, whatever specialist you want, why don't they know what brain fog is or what to do with it? And the answer is, when we went through our general medical training, we just weren't trained that way. I never heard the term brain fog once in my entire training. And I don't know any other health professional that's had. It's one of those things that you pick up on after the fact and later training. If you decide to go into like functional medicine and those types of things, you'll start to hear those terms like brain fog. And there's a whole list of other terms that are never talked about in traditional Western medicine practices. And brain fog is one of them, but they're simply not taught. That's the answer to the question. Why doesn't your health professional know about it? They're not taught about it. Therefore, it's one of those things that they just kind of filter out and they kind of let it pass because it doesn't mean anything to them. But I can promise you this, it means something to you. It definitely means something to you. I've never met a person with brain fog who wanted help that didn't find it meaningful to find somebody that actually had answers, actually understood what they were talking about. And in my particular case, it actually gone through an extended, 16-year period of brain fog myself. I understand that. So when I talk about these things, I'm talking from personal experience. I'm also talking from clinical experience. So what's the truth about brain fog, really? Is it that the brain fog results or occurs on the tail end of a host of other physical issues that may be going on in the body and have been going on for some time? Well, the answer is maybe, and we'll talk more about that here in just a second. Or is it that the brain fog occurs totally by itself? It's a standalone symptom, and it occurs, or it occurs first before any other symptoms occur in the body. I would say that that's rare. It's not impossible. I have seen it a few other times, but only very briefly, because once we start working with the client and they start seeing improvements in other areas of their body that they didn't expect, they'll go, oh yeah, that improved. And I look back and I'll say, well, you didn't say that you had any problems with that when we reviewed it during your first visit. And they said, yeah, I guess I really didn't realize that I did have problems in that area. So my thinking is that very rarely brain fog ever is rarely ever a standalone symptom by itself. And it rarely ever occurs first. Typically it occurs way later in a process, a long process where there are other changes going on in the brain and the body that bring about this brain fog. And by the time it gets to the brain fog state, generally speaking, it's been going on a while. Brain fog is really a general expression of the body's energy and neurological system that something is out of balance. So remember that brain fog is one of these symptoms that's telling us, it's raising its hand and it's saying, listen, I've got something going on in my energetic pathways within my body that is out of balance, and we've got to get this back in balance. And we'll talk more about that in just a second here too, because it's critically important to understand how brain fog ties into these physical symptoms throughout our body. If you don't take anything else away from this, know that brain fog and your physical symptoms throughout your body, whether you realize you have them or not, they're incredibly, very strongly linked. And I will go into that here in just a moment. But by the time brain fog is experienced, and many times, The underlying physical issues in the body, as I said, have been going on for quite a while, and focusing on the brain fog first as a symptom that we're going to tackle is really fruitless. Because if we take care of the rest of the body, if we take care of the energetic pathways within the body, guess what? Brain fog is going to clear up, because it's one of those hand raising gestures that the neurological system, the energy system is doing to say, hey, there's a problem here. So we take care of that. We take care of rebalancing that. Things start settling out on their own. You see, brain fog, in my humble opinion, is really a sign of, and you've probably never heard this term before, because I don't know of anybody that's using it really out. You might hear it some used in ADHD, but I'm not using it in that perspective. But I think brain fog, in my opinion, is really a sign of a distracted brain. Now, you may be asking, what is a distracted brain? It's a brain that becomes distracted because the physical body or the energetic body, the energetic system within the body is significantly out of balance. So what happens is the brain fog occurs, it gets our attention, but it occurs because there are issues going on, as I said earlier. But why distracted, Brian? Why did you use the term distracted or distracted brain? Well, it's critically important. I've come to realize that the subconscious mind, the subconscious brain, is really the gateway to healing. It's the gateway between this physical body and the spiritual body. And I don't want to get too woo-woo on you here, but we can't separate the two. We are fully physical and fully spiritual at the same time. We're not these spiritual beings that decided to take a physical walk on the physical plane of life and then we'll return to spirit one day. No, we're equally walking in both planes at the same time. So the spirit body is equally as important as the physical body. And I believe that the roadblocks that people get when they're in their healing process are managed through this gateway that we call the subconscious mind. You see, the subconscious mind is extremely powerful. It never stops working, even when you're sleeping. And it does about 95% of your body's work. Only 5% of your body's work is done through your conscious thought. Okay. So it's extremely powerful. If we looked at energy flow, and they've actually measured this energy flow within the subconscious brain pathways, from an energetic standpoint, it's extremely powerful. It's enough power there to power, say, the city of New York for 1 to 2 hours. And I don't remember that exact statistic, so don't hold me to that. I'd have to go back and look it up. And I did not do that for the show. It just kind of popped in now, but I have read that. And I know that to be a fact, that the subconscious is extremely powerful for blocking us from receiving healing, but it's also capable of helping ushering in healing because it unlocks. It's that door that can be opened between those two states of being that we're in, the physical being and the spiritual body. I used to think that people could jump right into what I call subconscious remodeling, or that I don't like to use the word reprogramming because it's not. It's just the subconscious remodeling. I used to think people could jump right into that and do that deeper work to retrain the subconscious brain, but that's not always the best approach. And it's definitely not always right for everyone. Sure, some people are okay with that and can manage that, but most people are not. And it's because of the distracted brain. We've got a distracted brain because our body is raising its hand and saying, listen, we've used the brain to speak for us and show that there are problems here that need to be paid attention to. And until we get this body, this physical self, these energetic pathways fixed, we're not going to be able to unlock that subconscious brain. I know people that do subconscious work with clients all the time, and that's all they do. And if you sit down and talk to them long enough, they will tell you that they have several clients that they start working with, and they're so distracted by what's going on in their body, they cannot make progress. In fact, I've recently heard from a friend of mine who does this. She was describing a client of hers and said, this client cannot move forward and really needs to see you, because I blend the two. And I know I've been doing this long enough. I know exactly when to jump into that subconscious remodeling work. But sometimes for a lot of people, I'd say most people, we have to get the physical and energetic work done so that the brain can actually relax enough for us to do that subconscious remodeling work. Um, is it wrong to do subconscious remodeling type work at the very beginning, at the outset of working with the client? No, it's not. It's actually a great approach, but it may not be the best approach. So why, you may be asking, why would we want to retrain the subconscious brain? And that's a great question. In fact, it sounds kind of scary, doesn't it? It's not. We retrain our subconscious brain all the time. We're doing it without even realizing it. That's why it's called the subconscious. Let me explain. And before I explain it, we first have to answer the question, what causes the need for the retraining in the first place? And this is where the answer comes out of. There's a cascade of events that occur, and I don't want to bore you, but what happens is when we experience life around us, a life event, a circumstance, an interaction with a person, whatever the case may be, occurs to us or for us or with us, however you like to view that. That circumstance, that life event is interpreted by the subconscious brain. And the subconscious brain has to make a few decisions at this point. They have to determine, is this an event that's occurring that requires a rest and digest type of response, a parasympathetic nervous system response, or is this a type of reaction that requires a sympathetic nervous system response or a fight and flight response? You see, a lot of people live in fight or flights because their subconscious brain has been retrained over the course of their life to respond with fight or flight. And oftentimes you can look at a person's heart rate when they're resting and they've not been moving, say, for 5-10 minutes. They've been sitting in a chair very quietly, and you check their pulse, and their pulse is through the roof. And you know that that person's subconscious brain has been reprogrammed to be in that fight or flight response. So it's an energetic thing at that point. Sure. Can it cross over to biological? It can cross over to biological. Let me explain. So when that circumstance or event comes in, the subconscious brain interprets this as good or bad, something that's going to harm me or kill me, something I need to run away from, or something that I can stay put and enjoy, I can relax in. It makes that decision. Once it does, it assigns an emotion to it. I want you to think about this. When you have memories of, say, your grandmother or your aunt or your mother, and the way they cooked and the love that they put into their food when they were preparing it, what kind of emotion comes up in you? Can you see the food? Can you smell the food? Can you remember the emotion that you had when you were back then? We used to actually sit at the table and eat. Do you remember those emotions? Do you remember how good it felt? Well, that's because your subconscious brain took that experience and attached a really good, healthy emotional response to it. Now, on the flip side of that, you may have grown up in a family where you were told you have to clean your plate. There are starving children in the world, and you should feel guilty for not cleaning your plate. And then you get to adulthood and you're morbidly obese because you've always cleaned your plate. You've always gone past the point where you were full and you didn't even realize you were doing it because you were doing it out of obligation, out of guilt, out of shame. And that circumstance around food is totally different than the first one that I described. But that circumstance around food puts you in fight or flight mode. So your adrenaline goes up, your cortisol goes up, and you store fat. Those are two scenarios about food that I hope helps you understand how circumstances can literally be interpreted by our subconscious brain. And our subconscious brain not only assigns an emotion to it, it assigns a belief. And we don't even realize that these beliefs are being formed, but these beliefs are being formed. And once those beliefs are formed, they send out chemical messages to the rest of the body, to the rest of the tissues in the body, the rest of the cells in the body, the rest of the organs in the body. And once the cells throughout the body receive these messages, they then have to decide, what are we going to do with these chemical messages that are coming from the brain? And most of the time, they will alter the DNA. They'll send that chemical messenger inside the cell. The DNA will accept it. It'll read it and interpret it. Yes, we need to change our coding to adjust for this chemical response. And then you'll have a genetic change in the epigenome. Okay. That's that modifiable portion of the genetic code. You'll have a change in the epigenome. And then it'll send a protein package back out, which is just kind of think of it as an email with programming. And it has a computer software code written in it. And it sends this computer code back out to the body where it's received by the cells and the tissues and the organs for reprogramming of how they should react. So by the time we get brain fog and we get this distracted brain, and we don't even realize it's the distracted brain because we're not aware of the physical and energetic imbalances that are going on in the body, guess what? Your brain is fully aware of it. And your subconscious is saying, we need attention now. Your body needs attention now. Your energetic balance is off and it needs attention now. So it uses brain fog, one of those pesky symptoms that's not going to destroy your life or take your life or anything like that. But it uses that pesky symptom to get your attention. And it's telling you, listen, we've got so much work to do. We can't jump into the subconscious remodeling work just yet. We need to get some of the fires put out within the body so that we can actually focus and concentrate on the subconscious remodeling work, opening that doorway where healing can take place. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense to you, I want you to leave me a message in chat, whether you're on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, Instagram, it doesn't matter. I want you to leave me a message on chat. I'll answer you back. If you want to message me personally at Dr. Brian G. Brown, feel free to do that. I'll answer any question you have because it's important to understand what is going on in this process so that when we move to that place where we've put enough of those fires out, and it really doesn't take very long if you understand what you're doing in functional medicine and you understand what you're doing as an epigenetic practitioner, a genetics practitioner, which I'm both. If you understand what you're doing, you can lay that foundation extremely quickly, get a handle on things, and then you can come in and start doing the subconscious remodeling work. And guess what? You're then approaching your issues and challenges from the bottom up at the genetic level, cellular level up, and from the brain or subconscious mind level down. And guess what? You're changing chemical responses and messages from the DNA level because you're supporting the genes to function like they're supposed to at the bottom up. And you're actually creating new chemical messages, healthier chemical message to come out of the brain and spread throughout the body to alter the DNA in a positive response. So it's a twofer, if you will. I don't know a better way of putting it. And I recently spoke, I attended a conference in October, and it's one of the top experts in this subconscious remodeling work. He's from Italy. And I had the privilege to be able to speak to him at one of the breaks and told him how I'd been using the subconscious remodeling along with genetics and functional medicine and so on and so forth. And he just looked at me and he said, I speak all over the world and I've never heard of anybody doing that. He said, what you're doing is brilliant. And he said, you need to continue to do that because that is going to radically change lives faster than what we are doing just with subconscious remodeling alone. He and I have since had conversations on and off via email and I've continued to kind of bounce this off of him and like, what were you thinking when you actually said that this is going to get faster results? And it was confirming exactly what I've experienced clinically and what I already thought was the reason, because it's that bottom up and that top down approach that takes care of everything in the middle. And the brain fog just becomes a non-issue at some point. But know this, does brain fog cause your health issues? It really doesn't cause your health issues. Is it a symptom? Is it a warning sign? Is it a neurological system, energy system raising their hands saying, hey, pay attention to me, there's things out of balance? Absolutely. So just remember, retraining the subconscious brain is critically important Is it the best first thing to do? Not necessarily. It's not for everybody. Sometimes we have to take care of the distracted brain, which means we take care of the reason why it's distracted, and we take care of the fires that are in the body physically and in the body with the energetic pathways. Are there ways we can measure these energetic frequencies? There are now, and they're really reliable. In fact, it's uncanny. I would dare use the word freaky sometimes. I remember the very first time I got a scan, I had tweaked my right shoulder in the gym. And I was working with a deep tissue medical massage person on the shoulder structure. And, I don't have any problems with it now. But the very first time I did a scan, it showed that I was having issues with that shoulder. And I'm thinking, how did it know that? Other than the fact that these guys were physicists and they spent about 12 years mapping out meridian pathways and physical responses throughout the body in various health states or dis-ease or unhealth states to understand what these scan results looked like in these particular areas, isolating certain nerves and nerve clusters and things like that. They're brilliant, if you ask me. They're out of the UK, and they know their stuff when it comes to mapping bioenergetic pathways. But we can measure that now. So we can measure bioenergetic pathways, we can measure genetics, and we can do the subconscious remodeling. And that triad, that trio of treatment modality, to me is the cat's meow. I used to focus in the middle. I used to focus on functional medicine type procedures and techniques and strategies. I used to function in the complementary and alternative realm by referring people out to various complementary and alternative medicine practitioners. And I don't have to do that much anymore, because when you go from the bottom up, from the genetic or cellular level up, and support those genes to function like they're supposed to, and then you come from the top down with the subconscious remodeling, and then you're taking care of the communication pathways between the two at the energetic level, everything levels out. And we don't have to spend much time in the middle with those functional medicine approaches. I hope that helps clear the water. I hope it creates more questions than answers. And I hope that you're brave enough to actually send those questions in, because it's incredibly important to understand. Like I said, if you have any questions, message me at Dr. Brian G. Brown on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. You can reach me even on YouTube at that same handle. Don't hesitate to reach out. Please do. Ask your questions. I will answer them within usually 24 hours. Usually within a few hours, but definitely within 24 hours. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have. Most informed, most trusted, and most grateful that you spent this time with us today. Until next time, stay in the zone. I am Dr. Brian Brown, signing off.